Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast. We've got a great show for you this week, but before we get into the show, if you find this episode valuable, please like, share, and subscribe so we can help more independent pharmacy owners. Also, visit us at pharmacyaccounting.com. If you're overpaying in tax, if you're prepping to start, buy, or sell a pharmacy, or just have a gut feeling that your financials aren't quite right, we have a suite of services for every need your pharmacy is facing. Go to pharmacyaccounting.com and we can help you. Okay, now on to the show. Well, thanks for joining us, Greco and Kyle. Thanks for hopping on. I know, Kyle, Greco kind of brought this idea to me that I thought would be really cool. And it's about how you're using flu vaccines, or just vaccines in general to drive new business into your pharmacy. And then Greco, happy to talk about anything that you want to speak about. But I just thought it'd be a really interesting topic because, you know, the topic of marketing and new business and driving traffic in general for the pharmacy is always something that's pharmacy owners are interested in. And so, you know, the fact that you're able to use vaccines as a way to drum up new business is an interesting way of going about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got the vaccines, and then that kind of leads into point of care testing in some states as well. In addition to being able to prescribe some things, so we're seeing some developments in there with some states. So states are definitely moving the needle in terms of expanding the scope of service, if you will, for pharmacies. You know, we're seeing that, but of course you got the medical side that doesn't like it. The practitioners, I guess, out there, some of them don't like that, but I tell you, patients love it when they can walk into a pharmacy, the pharmacist they've trusted, and get what they need. You go, because you know, you talk to any mom out there, they know what's wrong. Oh, it's strep. It's one of two or three things. They know what's wrong. If they could just pop into a pharmacy and get the test and get out of it, you know. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, Kyle has a really interesting background, and I know we were always talking on this show about how, you know, people need to diversify revenues. They need to do other things to fill prescriptions, and I'm sure there's probably a big host of people out there going, "Yeah, guys, it's easier said than done." But Kyle has a really unique story because he basically built what we're talking about. And you know, I'm always a firm believer in just taking off of what we learned from when we had Jay Phipps on. It was like, you know, if someone can do it, you can do it. Like, it's not just exclusive to that one person. And so that's Kyle's story. And I think, like, when we first worked together, and we've been lucky enough to work on a few different projects together for financing and deals. But that's something that always impressed me about him, is that he took something that wasn't there, or maybe had like a little bit of it, and then just grew it to where now it's like, Kyle, wouldn't you say, like, for these 3 months that you've been in, October, November, December, you're almost kind of like, dude, this is like the equivalent of like tax season for accountants, right? It's like, just, you got to kind of almost leave me alone. So I also appreciate you carving out some time for us.
Yeah, no problem. No, it's September, October, November, definitely Christmas season at North Shore Pharmacy. It's the busiest. The last week was the busiest week we'll have every year, both with just in-store vaccines, but then we have a fairly large off-site clinic business that I think a lot of independents got into when COVID hit, because there were a lot of assisted living facilities that were getting underserved by the big chains when the federal rollout happened. Some states did better than others as far as pairing us up. Wisconsin was kind of middle of the road, but prior to independent ownership, I worked for a large grocery chain pharmacy in clinical management. And one of my jobs there was what we called B2B, business to business outreach for immunization clinics, health testing clinics, the once a year insurance blood work that you get done. We were already doing all that. So when I came in 2020, purchased my first independent store, I kind of knew that was already available as a service set to offer, I was comfortable reaching out to large corporations, large local businesses, large assisted living facilities, and saying, hey, we can do this. This is what it looks like. Also, I know why the chains are bad and how they're missing the service set that we can fix, because I don't have to answer to anybody else. And I mean, that's the story of independent pharmacy in a nutshell, is we can do things that the chains don't have a policy for, and so they don't know how to do it. So yeah, my first store purchased, we closed on the deal March 1st of 2020. And if anybody remembers, it was about 13 days later that the world shut down. Yep. So this was a store, had been around forever, had given 0 vaccines in its 90-year history. So we got up and rolling. We knew what we needed, had to get the PTAN for Medicare, had to get the vaccines in stock. And fast forward to 2025 here, and that store probably gives close to 10,000 flu, COVID, and any other vaccine you can list. And so you can grow that. Now, COVID was a tailwind for all of us. It was a horrible time, but so many of the stories you guys probably have are how a different service stack got rolled out or grew because of COVID, and we're one of those stories too. So, it's really just understanding like what is out there as the standard service. Like, legitimately go to Walgreens, get a flu shot, wait in line for 10 minutes, talk to a disgruntled technician, go wait in line for another 15 minutes, not really having any other communication, get a stressed out pharmacist that walks you back there, don't really answer you any questions, gives you the shot, walks right out. Like, that's what you're up against. And then you have a good idea of what your competition is doing. It is not hard to beat that. And all it takes is getting people in the door, show them that, hey, this is actually a comfortable, relaxing process, and it will grow. It will grow.
So Kyle, that's awesome. And I agree with you 100%. We talk to pharmacy owners all the time. They want to be next door to a Walgreens. Like, put me next door to a Walgreens or a CVS or whatever, because they know they can outservice them all day long. So, but my question is, off of this vaccine momentum you have and the success you have, what other benefits have you seen from that in terms of other services you've been able to maybe offer, or more traffic in the OTC type area or specialty OTC niche areas? What other opportunities do you have you had, or do you foresee coming out of being able to expand your scope of service here?
Yeah, I think the low hanging fruit there, and it really is market dependent, is so we're going to start rolling out travel vaccine services. So we've got a collaborative practice signed for our Shorewood location. We're going to be able to sit with you. You're going to fill out an intake form, book an appointment. You've been coming to us for 5 years for your flu and COVID and pneumonia and tetanus and everything else. You like coming to us for vaccines. My Shorewood community travels a lot, relatively high income, a lot of international travelers for business. And that's a fee for service for the consult. That's, hey, you're going to need vaccine A, B, and C. But we also got a collaborative practice signed. So if you need a course of Cipro because you're going to a country that's a good idea to have on hand, we can prescribe that. If you need acetazolamide because you're going to go climb Kilimanjaro in August, we can do that. And, we had a provider partner with us. And so you've already got these thousands of patients that are coming in your door now every year. And it's such a natural extension for them to say, oh, hey, do you guys do this? We've already had the ask and we didn't even offer it yet. And so it's a real natural extension from a good vaccine business. And that fee for service consults, that's cash in the bank. That's not adjudicated. That's not disputed. That's not getting half of it taken back 3 months later on a GER. So that's a great business to build off of your baseline immunization, seasonal immunization service. Other than that, like we got into testing, COVID testing, like a lot of independents did, partnered with the federal program with like the mail-ins. Then we got our hands on a PCR machine, and we're doing that for cash for years. The demand's fallen off as folks are more comfortable in the world now with COVID as a virus that's just around. But now we've got a machine that can do strep, flu A, B, and COVID. And so we've had it. We don't advertise it a ton, but it's there. So that point of care testing, Scotty, that you were talking about, that's always there as a cash business. We haven't dove into the insurance reimbursement. It looks like rates are okay. I don't need it in my model right now, but it's available.
Hey Kyle, when you're building this program, okay, and you kind of like, you had vision, you knew, because you had a little bit of a background in it, and you knew that the community was there. How did you rally the team, your new staff? How did you rally them around this? Because obviously anytime you take on any new initiative, it's going to require manpower and work and learning new processes. What was some of your strategy there?
Yeah, I'd say I was lucky in that I had folks that were just excited to try something new. I think a lot of independent owners, in my story, it's always that I'm acquiring a pharmacy where the guy running it's running it for 30 years. He's going to retire. I'm coming in as a new face, new owner, making some changes. And you really just, it's not a secret. There's plenty of guys that have been on here talking about, motivating a team. You just point them the direction, and as long as you got the right people on the bus, you can put that bus wherever direction you want to go. So the first store was fairly easy because it was, hey, this is COVID. This is new for all of us.
Yeah.
We want to do it. We want to care for our people so that they don't have to go to some, back in early 2021 when they were opening football stadiums and, large convention centers, and folks were waiting in line with 600 other people. Like, I don't want 80-year-old Mrs. Smith to have to go figure that process out. So you come at it from, hey, we want to keep it simple for our patients. If we do a good job with our patients, they're going to tell other people. And I mean, I did effectively zero advertising for COVID other than Facebook posts, and it was word of mouth, and then they get in, and as it relates, we've grown script count a lot, but it was this interesting thing where kind of showing you how hard it is to change people's routine. They'd come in, they'd get their first dose of COVID, great experience, can't get enough compliments from them. They come in for their second dose. You guys do such a good job. You guys are so much better than Walgreens. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we fill prescriptions too. Oh yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. And then the six-month booster came out. 2,000 people walked through our doors in a month and a half.
Wow.
Oh man, you guys are so much better. I hate going across the street. I hate going there. Yeah, we fill prescriptions. We're happy to do that for you. Oh, that's really good to know. Nothing. And it really took like that fourth time they came in, like the same experience, and then they were ours. And then the transfers started coming, and then it was, holy cow. Like, this isn't just a COVID booster peak. This is, now we've got 5 families a day transferring their whole profile. But then now they're ours, and they're not going anywhere. And that's, it was an interesting lag in that you can give great experience several times before the person kind of makes that
Yeah.
decision to move.
A lot of touch points there. Yeah.
You know, a lot of times it takes people to get to a point where they feel like their back is against the wall and they feel like they have to make a change, or they've been doing something for a while and they're like, you know, I'm kind of tired of this experience that I'm getting over at the Walgreens or the CVS that I'm going to. And I've been going to this independent pharmacy to get my vaccines for a while, and I enjoy going there. And so there's usually like a couple of turning points, you know, as well as the touch points that you're offering to get them to kind of make that decision to transfer over. So it's really interesting to kind of hear your, you know, the story around that.
And Kyle, how long do you think? I mean, you know, we're in flu season now, right? I went and had my flu vaccination and my COVID vaccination. So I know what's going on right now, and I know that it's nearing the end of the year, and pharmacists are probably looking at, well, what do I need to do for 2026? There's always going to be a new set of challenges, and I know the answer is always like, now. You need to start now. But realistically, what kind of lead time do you think pharmacist owners need to have a successful program set up? Like, how many months do you think it takes to have it set up, you know, and ready to go for when flu season comes around?
Yeah, and I think it's a timely question. I'm, as Greco's aware, I'm acquiring a third location, and I'm actually sitting in the back room of that location right now. But you know, we'll close on this deal in a few weeks. Come January, I'll have my checklist, things I got to get rolled out. They give 0 vaccines a year right now. And we will be 100% ready by flu season.
Wow.
And as I'm walking over to take this, I hear a technician, you know, talking to a patient. Oh, you know, we don't give flu vaccines, but ask about it next fall. We're going to have it next fall, you know, because patients want to go to the place they're comfortable. So, no, you start in January for that fall. You got all the time in the world. All the time.
So Kyle, if a pharmacist listening in right now wants to get into it, give us a quick little snapshot of how to implement, how to get into it. You know, maybe they don't know or where to start or what processes or so forth. You know, give us some kind of tips for those listening in on maybe how to get started here.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's state resources, whatever your state association is. There's NCPA's got great resources. It's a checklist. It's 2 pages long. Start at point 1, work your way down. You know, for the purpose of this, you know, podcast, first thing you want to do, get on the CMS website, get a PTAN. If, like most of us, we don't take assignment for test strips or nebulizers anymore. If your store's not vaccinating, you likely don't have one. It takes a couple weeks. It's a crappy federal document, but you fill it out, you get your PTAN, and you're basically running at that point. You know, most flu vaccine and COVID vaccine, you want to have your pre-book, like your ahead order, in by April. So you make a guess low. I would say biggest difference now versus 4 or 5 years ago is COVID and flu vaccine was really tight. You really had to get a good pre-book number in to assure that you had doses kind of that first week in September when folks start asking for it. Market can change, but gosh, the last 2-3 years, there's so many other distributors that are carrying flu and COVID now that if you just pre-book 50% of your target, and this is your first year, pick a goal, pre-book 50%, and then just order it as you need it from any 6 to 10 different companies that are selling it. They give you next day shipping. I would definitely say from a pricing standpoint, go on the independent Facebook groups, go on the different groups. They're going to tell you who's got good pricing. Price 3 or 4 different companies for your flu shot, your COVID shot, your high dose flu. And don't just rely on your wholesaler for that. That's it'll get you doses, but you're overpaying big time if you're just doing that.
On the subject of technology, how much are you using? I mean, you mentioned Facebook for collaborative purposes, but how much are you using technology when you're doing your booking? Is there anything that you can? Is it something where it's up to preference, or is it just old fashioned? I mean, how are you kind of streamlining that? Because with that many vaccines, you got to be leveraging some technology to help make it efficient for both the customer and for your staff.
Yeah, so go to northshorepharmacy.org, click on vaccines, click the link, click the location you want to book your appointment. It's 8 questions. You fill it out, your appointment's booked. Now, we'll still take walk-ins, but, our education to them is, you want the cleanest experience, just book an appointment. We've always got them. And at the volume that we do it, it's a requirement. If it's your first year, look at Jotform, look at Calendly. Both of them have links you can embed into your website. And, maybe only 20% of the people are going to book that way. It's population dependent. At our Shorewood location, it's more like 90 because they're trained now. It's our 6th year doing it. They're waiting for us to load the links so they can just book it, be done with it. And
that's awesome.
And you probably had a lot of people that, that, like, you kind of alluded to this, but that first year, maybe they weren't doing pre-booking. And then as you nurture them as a customer, you tell them, like, hey, if you pre-book, like, the process is a lot more efficient, and that percentage just grows over time. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, what else are you working on? I mean, sounds like you got this vaccine thing figured out. What else have you got going on back there?
Everything. Why not?
Other than a new store.
Yeah.
Other than messing around with me on a new store. Huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Every 2 years, Greco gets a call at this.
That is true. Welcome call, by the way, too.
Yeah. No, we're excited to roll out travel vaccine. We're excited. All of our locations have a real growing long-term care at home business. I think if you're an independent and you're not in that yet, you're missing the boat. It's such a natural fit for us. The big chains do a bad job with it, and the long-term care pharmacies can't operationalize these N of 1 solutions. And it is just such a natural fit for independent pharmacy to be in it. You do 80% of that work anyway. Get set up as a combo shop, figure out the contracts, operationalize it in your store so that you're getting the better reimbursement on the LTC side. And, talk to those care managers that are sending you patients. Let them know this is what you do. You do a good job with it. You're ethical with it. You're good with it. And that is, again, just the referrals come in because nobody else does a good job with it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of content on that. I'm glad you mentioned that because that is definitely an area of opportunity. And I agree with you 100%. It's a natural fit for an independent to get into that long-term care space to that degree. It's not going anywhere, right? I mean, people are getting older. There's not enough places for them to go. So I love that point.
Yeah, that's every college of pharmacy I go talk to. The students have never heard of LTC at home. And I'm like, you're gonna. It's got the biggest demographic population aging into their own homes. And there's not enough beds and facilities right now for the patients that are looking for them.
Yep.
So home health, long-term care at home, man, just get it operationalized in your store so that it's scalable, so that hey, if I triple this business, this is all I got to add. These are the things I'm going to have to add to my workflow or supplies or space, and get ready. Like, it's there.
That's great.
For sure. 100%.
Hey, Kyle, so 2026 is around the corner. Every year there's always new headwinds and tailwinds. what are some of your predictions, or what are some of your things that you're thinking as far as headwinds, tailwinds, positive, negative for the pharmacy space, specifically independent?
Yeah, I'd say headwinds is going to be IRA. We'll see what the cash flow hit is on those top 10 come January 1st. I'm probably sat on 10 different webinars with 10 different organizations, and they all got a different guess on when we're finally going to be made whole on those claims from the MFT. Until the money hits the bank, you're not going to know, and that's not fun. We got out of DIRs just to have to get rolled into MFT. So now we're still not making all our money at point of service. And somehow they thought pharmacy was the right drug channel for them to be sitting on higher AR. So that's going to be the biggest headwind. We just don't know what those remit timelines are going to look like. I think continual consolidation in the Part D marketplace is going to be tight. We got less plans offering less options in different regions. A lot more people are moving to Medicare Advantage. And while sometimes that's good, there's stickier patients in Medicare Advantage. They don't switch plans as often. So if you get a big Medicare Advantage swing in your market and they're in a plan that doesn't pay well, or they're in a plan that you're out of network with, that's going to be a challenge. And a lot of times you don't know until you look up their insurance on January 1 and they picked a plan you're not a part of. So, doing the plan comparisons helps negate some of that. But these 1-800 folks that are calling from all over, confusing patients and having them enroll into a plan they didn't even realize they were doing. Every independent's got at least a dozen stories like that. So that's a headwind. Tailwinds, there's going to be less retail pharmacies. That's good and bad. But there's definitely opportunity. Like, we'll see how many stores Walgreens closes in 2026. CVS has already got a couple hundred on the books slated for closure. Large grocery chains aren't growing. So their footprints are shrinking. So, being ready for large influxes if a chain closes nearby to you, that's a tailwind. If you're proactive about making sure you're in plans that pay you for the service you provide. So
Absolutely.
Are you Kyle, or do you have your own insurance side of it as well, where you are assisting with plan selection on the insurance side, where you have pharmacies setting up their own insurance LLCs and helping the plan mix? That's also beneficial for the pharmacy as well. Are you doing any of that?
we looked into it a year ago and started going down it. And frankly, my to-do list got too long and I didn't do it. But what we're also seeing now is many of the PDPs are no longer paying commission. And a lot of the Medicare Advantage plans have shrunk the commission that they're paying on those plans. So it's not as good of a gig as it was these last 3-4 years. So I want to say out of the 5 major PDPs, 3 just aren't paying a commission if you're an agent and you move them into one of those plans. And a handful of the Medicare Advantage cut their commission in half. So this just isn't as good of a gig as it was 2-3 years ago. So probably won't get into it this year. It's still a service we offer for free, really as a moat to protect against folks moving into bad plan, and also, letting them know, hey, here's your plan options. Here's what we're in network with if you want to stay with us. And making sure you're following the rules with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
And on that tailwind comment, Kyle, I know Greco Live Oak has some funding options that are turnkey when those opportunities may arise. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, on the tailwind side for the cash flow crunch, obviously we have our small loan, Live Oak Express
loans, right?
Yeah, which is $350 and below. So people should definitely look into that. Also, when we're looking at new projects, we're obviously taking that into account with some potentially more working capital involved in the project, working on proper terms for it. So, we're always trying to address those tailwinds that are out there. But I think Kyle brings up a great point that, sometimes the solution isn't always debt, sometimes it is, but education and understanding what it's going to look like, that's definitely something that we're advocating for all our customers and out there in the space in general. I mean, Kyle, like he said, he's been sitting on webinars. He's trying to educate himself as much as he can. So yeah, I think it's a two-prong approach. Make sure that you have the proper capital, that you're prepared, but also that you understand how it's going to impact your business and how it's going to function and getting on that latest news.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's for sure. I mean, golly, you get done with the DIR and then here comes the IRA. So
I do think,
like my dad used to say, if the left doesn't get you, the right hand will. That was his saying. So I guess that's kind of ringing true.
Right. No, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up, but you look back 2 years ago at all the messaging that was coming out around double DIR, the DIR cliff, the DIR apocalypse. Hold your cash, be ready for a cash flow crunch. And, the PSAOs were giving you like estimates of like, this is what the hit's going to be. And that was good. And that got to a lot of ears. I think maybe this IRA and MFT cash flow hit could be significant. And I think folks might be aware, but just really pay attention to that. Be in a good cash position come January 1 as you're kind of planning for your 2026 year. Like, get through that first 3 months and see what happens, because we just don't know.
Yep.
Sound advice.
That is. Well, Kyle, Greco, thank you guys for getting on. We're about 30 minutes in here, so always a pleasure, Greco, to have you on. And Kyle, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. I always tell my Wisconsin friends, I had a Wisconsin buddy, beer, brats, and cheese. He'd get home from school, he'd have a block of cheese and some Miller High Life 6-pack every week.
Man, that's just an after-school snack. I love it.
Yeah. So, anyway, thank you guys, and we'll see you around.